Is a recession possible this year? While some think that it is, others don't really believe so. Recently, news broke out about a possible recession happening sometime around 2022, which would mean it could just be right around the corner. The Feds assured the public, however, that a recession is very unlikely to happen this year, but their actions say otherwise. So what is the truth to this? And what do economists say about the circulating news? Should we prepare ourselves for this incoming crash if by any chance predictions were correct? And what does this mean for the stock market? Let's find out in today's video. Hey, welcome to Stock Market Mate. Today we'll talk about the possible recession in 2022. Before we get into it, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to help us beat the YouTube algorithm. If you're done with that, then let's get right into it. For many years, the economy has suffered from recession more than once, and in those recessions, the Feds were only able to successfully aid three, which isn't much and definitely doesn't boost your confidence at aiding this predicted recession now. However, it is better than nothing at all. Since World War II and up until the COVID-19 pandemic, the United States economy has weathered 12 different recessions, and out of those 12, only 3 were successful. Fortunately, the COVID recession in 2020 only lasted for 2 months, but that doesn't change the fact that an upcoming recession this 2022 sounds very alarming. It would definitely not be a good thing if we were to experience another recession this year. But before we get into more details about the recent concern, let's briefly discuss what recession is and how it affects us all, most especially investors. What is a recession? A recession is the result of a significant drop in economic activity. Most people assume that just because there's 2 quarters of negative GDP, or gross domestic product, means there's a recession in the economy. That's not really the case because a recession cannot be solely determined by GDP. In general, a significant decline in economic activity can be attributed to several factors, such as high unemployment, slow production in sales of goods, and falling wages, in addition to a negative reading on GDP. Unlike the standard recession, the COVID-19 recession only lasted 2 months. So then what caused this period to be called a recession? Well, the National Bureau of Economic Research, or NBER, an independent, nonprofit economic research firm responsible for officially defining recessions in the United States, defines one as a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months, according to the organization's website. According to the NBER, the economic decline that was associated with the first months of the pandemic was so severe that it deserved to be called a recession, despite its brief duration. A recession leads to many job losses. To cover their expenses, many people often have to cut back on spending or take on more debt until they can find a new job. During the COVID-19-induced recession, for example, nearly 23 million Americans lost their jobs. As businesses were forced to close to control the virus, employers were left unable to pay their employees without customers. Stock market conditions this year. During the first months of 2022, things have been quite unpredictable. A combination of inflation fears and interest rate hikes sent stocks plunging in January, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February sent the market further down. Thus, this begs the question, is the stock market likely to crash the rest of 2022? In a stock market crash, the price of stocks falls dramatically and there is panic. In fact, stock market crashes are caused equally by panic as by actual economic issues. As an example, let's take a look at the coronavirus pandemic to demonstrate how panic can really influence crashes. Grocery stores and convenience stores around the world ran out of toilet paper within days of learning about the virus. There wasn't really a toilet paper shortage before the news of the virus, but then right after hearing about the virus, people started buying all these toilet papers, resulting in toilet paper shortage. This is the same kind of fear that can trigger a stock market crash. So will it happen again this year? No one knows for sure. All we can do is try to predict by looking at what influences the market. Housing market conditions this year. Let's take a look at the current state of the housing market. Are we seeing a rise or decline in this market? Many experts predicted a housing crash comparable to that of the Great Depression due to the pandemic. However, some say it's unlikely to occur. In comparison to a decade ago, today's market is in a far better shape. As a matter of fact, over the past year, the housing industry has experienced major growth, with historically low foreclosure rates, the greatest number of home sales in 15 years, and the largest annual gains in home values and rentals. With this in mind, economists predicted rising rates by the end of 2022. Nevertheless, the recent spike in rates has some wondering what will happen next. As a result of the pandemic, homebuyers have had to face a hard decision. Either accept rapid price increases and forego normal steps like house inspections, or risk being priced out of the housing market. These dynamics have caused some observers to wonder whether the US is repeating the house bubble of the early 2000s, which caused a painful housing crash in 2006, and the Great Recession in 2007 to 2009. But there is a little chance the housing market will crash anytime soon. The current market is very different from how it was during the last big housing bubble between 2008 and 2010. Will there be a recession this year? So should we be worried about a recession this year? Economists say it is very unlikely for a recession to happen in 2022. Nevertheless, it isn't impossible. Economists at Deutsche Bank predict a major recession will begin in late 2023 or early 2024. This is a shift from last month's forecast, where economists expected a mild recession. They explained that the recession may be a bit more significant because inflation will take a while to reach the Fed's 2% target. In this situation, the central bank will have to raise interest rates even more aggressively to rein in inflation. Increasing interest rates can backfire, however, because it can lead to consumers and businesses spending less since it becomes more expensive to borrow money when interest rates on credit cards, mortgages, and other loans rise simultaneously. Recession is definitely not inevitable, but no one knows how things will turn out in the end. We can only hope it ends up good. So will the stock market crash this year? Is a recession truly possible? Well, unfortunately, nobody can predict with certainty whether the stock market will crash in the remainder of 2022, just as much as no one can really tell if recession will happen again this year. Although the Feds have claimed that recession was not likely to happen anytime soon, there are still doubts among people. In fact, there have been many instances where the Feds had to admit they were wrong about their claims and predictions. And so, can we really take their words for it and not expect that they'll make the same mistake? Many banks have backed up the Feds and also predicted there will be no recession this year, including JP Chase & Company and Bank of America. However, these banks have contradicted their words through their actions, saying that there is no recession, but at the same time, they're preparing for it. JP Chase, for example, said there was not going to be a recession this year, but recently set aside $902 million in anticipation of a recession. Although whether you'll believe in their words or their actions is up to you. How does recession affect people? If there will be another recession this year, it would definitely be a total disaster. Many people will lose their jobs once again. The increase in unemployment means you're more likely to lose your current job as well as having a much harder time finding a replacement job. Furthermore, people who retain their jobs may face pay cuts and benefit cuts, and will have a hard time negotiating raises in the future. Additionally, business owners will likely see a decrease in sales as well as be forced into bankruptcy. These are just a few of the effects of a recession. But all in all, nobody really knows with 100% certainty that there will be truly a recession or not in the coming months, or whether it'll come sooner or later. But with rumors of recession, it's best to stick to the facts. It is important for us to be aware of what's going on in the world, and in order to be well informed, you have to look at the facts so that you're not easily spooked by sudden news or alarming predictions such as this. Well, that's about it for today. If you found this video helpful, kindly click the like and subscribe button. Also, you might want to leave a comment below. We love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to want to watch one of these two videos right here. Enjoy!